Untamed is going to be untamed. It's going to be a little crazy. I want to talk to my people. I want to talk to my brothers and sisters. We can have grace and humility in how we interact with other people.
Oh, hot dog, look at you.
And nobody talked about what's really happening.
And let's have conversations about what truth is.
2020 election, the most secure in American history.
Most secure election in American history.
Most secure in American history.
Most secure election in American history.
Most secure election in American history.
The most secure in American history.
Most secure election in American history.
The safest, the most secure election we've ever seen.
Cleanest election, the safest election, the most secure election ever run.
Most secure election in American history.
The most secure election in American history.
The most secure in history.
What's the most secure election ever?
The most secure election in American history.
Let's just be clear, this is the most secure election in American history.
The most secure in U.S. history.
This, in fact, was the most secure election yet.
This was the most secure election in history.
The most secure or the most secure election in American history.
The most secure election in history.
Most secure election in modern American history.
Most secure election in our history.
Safest and most secure election in our history.
Safest, most secure election we have ever had.
The most secure in American history.
The most secure election in American history.
Most secure election in American history.
Most secure election in American history.
The most secure election in American history.
The most secure election that we've had.
The safest, most secure elections in American history.
It was the most secure election in the history of the country.
The most secure in our history.
Most secure election of our lifetime.
The most secure election ever, the 2020 election.
The safest, most secure election in recent history.
Can you honestly tell me in all the states that no ballots from people that are already deceased were not filled out and sent in?
This was the most secure election.
It is the most secure election in U.S. history. It is the most secure election in U.S. history. And if you don't believe it, you are an election denier. We have a new truth that is facing us right now. It's a brand new truth. And that truth is, we thought we had it all figured out, man. We literally thought we had it figured out. We thought that we had the safest, most secure elections in U.S. history. We don't have any elections in our country. We have selections. Doesn't matter what state we're talking about. Doesn't matter what area we're talking about. It's all kabuki theater. We're going to talk about a bunch of things today. We have Patrick Byrne that was on Alex Jones's show, and he was dropping bombs. He was giving up information that was directly related to sealed material, and this material he's not supposed to talk about. He's like, you know what? I don't really care what the judge says. The judges in our country are so rotted that it's hard to even recognize them. And then we have, Sean Ryan on with Tucker Carlson. And my friend Dan Holloway from the Drinking Bros, he came out and talked about God. It's fascinating. He talks about, how the more, how as we look ahead, true north in society, there has to be some ethical limits, and those limits are designed by the example that Jesus gives us, no matter where we look. We're in kind of a bad place right now, and we're not in a bad place. We're not in a bad place because we can't fix it. We're in a bad place because we haven't stood up together to fix it. And frankly, I think we need to. So here's a piece from Patrick being on Alex Jones. Let's go ahead and play it.
There's a dirty Venezuelan software package that lets you steal elections. It was in Smartmatic, where it was called SAES, Smartmatic Automated Election System. They bought an American company called Sequoia, and they put it inside Sequoia, where it was called WinEDS. That's the only name you have to memorize, WinEDS. That dirty package got shifted, and it's actually inside Dominion. They call their system Democracy Suite, but it's inside Dominion. They've been denying like hell that they have WinEDS. They're saying we don't use it. It's not inside our system. I'm going to prove to you that it is in their system. And then the problem is what's happened now is Liberty has come along, and actually Liberty is just a new name on Dominion. It's the same corporation.
What amazes me is that the American people as a whole haven't stood up and said, I think we're done. I think we're finished. Costs 90% less to actually hand count, paper ballot, in person, precinct counting. Yeah, let's just do that. But here's another one where Patrick talks about Eric Coomer's email from 2011. Go ahead and play it.
Let's go to the next page. This is an email from Eric Coomer in 2020. He's running the elections in Chicago. And noticing he's writing a guy, Goran Obrodovich, who's in Serbia. And he says, this paragraph, when you read it, you're going to laugh. They're talking about setting up servers to process ballots as they come in. So there's a few days before the election. He says, 30 minutes, 12,000 ballots. We may have some timing problems. Not sure there's anything we can do other than our best. Look at this. We can set up the cartridges to load overnight as they come in scare quotes, and then
I mean, he's like, oh, come in, yeah.
and then load into when.
He's even laughing like, oh, as they come in. Oh, yeah.
Why is he doing that? Explain. Why is he putting?
Because you know what's love to brag.
Yeah, but why? As they come in. In other words, they're faking like we're good as the ballot.
We can load it and have it ready as they come in.
As they come in, meaning we're going to be uploading them, but pretending that these are ballots coming in from the field, but actually and we can then load them into the WinEDS. So here's Eric Coomer, the CTO of Dominion, acknowledging that WinEDS is being used in their system. What they really do is when they set up a Dominion server for some county, they set up next to it a second machine. That is the WinEDS machine. They don't even tell the counties, we have a server in here that's really running with this Smartmatic Venezuelan software. And they run the election on this machine. All this stuff gets in. And what they're not telling anyone is it goes from the Dominion machine to this EDS dirty machine and then gets reported into the election reporting system. So before the results go from the county to the legitimate election reporting system, they're run through this WinEDS dirty Venezuelan software where they and only they have access. They and only they even know it exists. They're not even telling the counties that they have.
That's what's come out with these companies is they claim they're taking photos of the ballots in live time, but they have another computer sliding a whole new one in.
Right. Coomer just admitted recently in a deposition like last week that there's a server before the results go from the server that runs the election to this county server that reports the election. It's going through another server that nobody knows about and only he has access to. So the results go in. And we just have to trust them not to do anything they want to do. And then it gets reported. And they didn't even let anyone know they had that second server.
Wow.
You know, it's what's interesting about what we're talking about right now is that we knew all of this stuff. Remember, don't worry about it. Trump's not going to win. I made sure of it. Which led me to find Eric Coomer because he had to be out there and be the spokesperson for Dominion voting systems. So he's talking about what's happening in Chicago. And why is it, by the way, that he always goes back to Chicago? Why is Eric Coomer always in Chicago? 2006, he was in Chicago. He must really like Chicago. What is in Chicago that is so important? That's right. Roaming Networks has an office in Chicago, in Elgin, Illinois, outside of Chicago. And I was like, what is the significance of Roaming Networks? And then we start walking through all the different parts and pieces. And we got a couple surprises for Mr. Coomer. My trial's not until January with Coomer, but I think that him and his lawyers are going to have a lot more to contend with over the next couple months. I think he's in real trouble. And, you know, he spent the last 6 years costing me hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars in legal fees. And I think it's time for maybe the tides to turn. Well, that brings me back to kind of where we're at right now. we have a lot of people that are on different islands. And Matt DePerno, we're going to talk about some of the things that I think are important outside of the election fraud deal. But Matt DePerno was the first one to successfully win a case in 2020 for related to Dominion voting systems, and his client Bill Bailey, and he went in and grabbed up the machines. And I don't think a lot of people understand the history behind what Matt did. It's like Matt came in, opened up Pandora's box, got access to the machines, was able to make a copy of them. First, was able to source a man named Jeff Lundberg. Jeff came in, he worked for Sandia Labs, did a whole bunch of tests for the work that Matt did. By the way, Bill Bailey passed away just last year. Wanted to see himself all the way through the case, or through this process, but was succumbed to cancer. Well, Matt is, worked with Stephanie Lambert, worked with some of the, familiar names, and has not had the best relationship with some people. And I think in large part, accusations have been thrown across different bows. I will be the first to tell you, I think Matt is an amazing lawyer and he's an amazing man. But of late, I've been trying to get people to come together and coalesce around the idea that strong people don't typically have a lot of patience, and I would definitely say that Matt's a strong man. So he got sued, and on top of being sued, he had a couple of prosecutions. They charged him with felonies for unlawful access and a few other things. Now, one of those cases was thrown out. This case that he's currently in has not been thrown out. And he has been fighting for his life for the last few years. So, I asked Matt to come on when we learned of some new information, and he's got a lot to say. So with that said, Matt, welcome to the show. Oh, you're muted. You're muted, brother. You're muted.
There we go. How's that?
There you go. Perfect. You're wearing a tie. Look at you. You look good.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Yeah. It's good to see you.
Yeah. Good to see you. No, we have to, first thing I'm going to say is we got to stop using the term machines.
Software. Yeah. I mean, we're talking about software versus hardware, right?
We're having loaded archaic terms that people still talk about.
I'm a tech guy. I still say the machine just because, you got to have some machine to store that software on.
Well, it's relevant in my case because I was charged with 4 felonies, and one being unauthorized access to a voting machine. And in Michigan, we haven't used a voting machine since probably 2002.
Yeah.
Machines under Michigan law referred to lever-based machines. And then when the SAVE or the HAVA Act passed after Bush v. Gore, Michigan moved to tabulating systems, electronic systems. And so the Bureau of Elections, the Michigan Attorney General here, tried to fabricate and did manufacture crimes based on a statute that was passed in 1956 that references voting machines. We don't have those types of systems in Michigan where people actually vote on a machine.
I wish we did. It would take us back a little bit.
We vote on paper.
And be more secure.
We vote on paper, and the paper is then tabulated in a machine. And I actually think there's the recent Supreme Court decision of Watson versus RNC kind of emphasizes that point where it talks about the idea of when people actually vote, and people vote when they cast a ballot. They don't vote when a tabulator counts their ballot. So anyway, just that's an aside. It's one of the issues I've had with a lot of people is the constant use of the term machines as if that's somehow important terminology. It's not, but we got to start calling things by what they actually mean, not by what terms that prosecutors then can use to indict people.
Matt, let's take everyone back. I think people, they've forgotten more about what has happened going back to 2020 than I think that people realize. And when you first got involved in this, you took the novel approach. You were approached by people in the President Trump's campaign inside of the administration that said, "Hey, look, we have this case. Will you take this case?" You took this case, but you didn't want to make it about the vote for President Trump. You wanted to go down ballot and prove that the machines are designed to and can steal votes or flip votes at any level. And so you found a challenger that was on the ballot. And correct me if I'm wrong in any of this. And that challenger was Bill Bailey. He became the plaintiff. And
he was not. He was not on the ballot. He was a resident in Antrim County.
He was a resident in Antrim County that was challenging the down ballot vote. Correct.
Right. There was specifically downvote ballots, and there was a marijuana proposal that was of concern of his. But yeah, I was contacted by Rudy Giuliani, who asked me if I would file this case. We talked about it. One thing I told him was, you recognize and understand that if this case is filed, if it's successful, and the Democrats are going to come for me at some point, and will you be there to defend me and support me? He said yes. That was a lie. He said that I'd have every resource I needed to prosecute the case. That was a lie. But nevertheless, I did what I did. I got a order allowing me to conduct a forensic investigation, which no one else had got. And we did. We got images of the Antrim County server.
Well, you showed up on a weekend. I mean, this is a little bit more covert than just showing up to pick up the machines. They were trying to stop you at the last minute. You were there as soon as you got the order, you were there lickety split.
Well, we got the order on a Friday evening.
Yeah.
And I worked with the opposing counsel representing Antrim County. And we agreed that coming in to collect the forensic digital imaging that we wanted would be more appropriately done on a weekend when the office wasn't filled with employees. So it made sense to both sides to pull the image on a Saturday. I believe we ended up doing it on a Sunday morning. I think it was.
I thought it was Sunday morning. Yeah.
But yeah, it was done.
But they showed up to stop you. They did show up to stop you.
Well, there were certainly forces working to stop us. They didn't know what we had when we had it. The media didn't understand it at the time. The Democrats didn't understand what the significance was of having a forensic image. So there was a lot of different places and moving pieces at that time.
Okay, so you got the image. ASOG pushed out their first report. I believe it was in November of 2020, very end of 2020, and that was a preliminary report. It was a draft report.
Well, the first report came out, I think it was December 14th, because we worked on that report, had to prepare that report, and then get...
So it didn't come out before then? It didn't come out? There was no...
No.
I thought there was a preliminary or maybe I'm remembering it wrong.
Now, the first report came out December 14th. I had to get court permission to release it because it was under a protective order. But we did get permission to release it, released it December 14th. It found its way onto the president's desk. It blew up on social media. It was an important, relevant report. And parts of it still hold up pretty well today.
Well, I mean, let's just go to the first couple of paragraphs where it says a Dominion voting system was a system that was designed to defraud the voters of the American people's vote. That's a pretty, I mean, it's a pretty, I mean, it was very pressing. It's one of the first paragraphs out there that the system was designed to defraud the American voter. Do you still believe that?
In terms of the way the system was designed, I think absolutely. I think that is a statement.
I mean, these are security experts. I mean, the ASOG was, Russ Ramsland. You had some really, really strong forensic actors that understood how systems should be developed that were making these claims.
The report said, we conclude that the Dominion voting system is intentionally and purposely designed with inherent errors to create systemic fraud and influence election results. I think that's a true statement. Okay. There's, if listen, in our country, if we wanted to prepare or write secure software or create a secure system, we wouldn't be having Dominion voting system preparing or creating that hardware.
None of them. We would have none of those systems. We would have ES&S, Smartmatic. Nobody that knows anything about secure systems would choose to create a system as fundamentally flawed and as black boxed as that system is.
Right here, there's more security on this than you'd ever find on our voting systems. They can be easily hacked. Their software's out of date. They're running on Windows systems. We found all kinds of problems that lead to the conclusion that the systems are or could be compromised. There's no question about it. In terms of how insecure they are. The next question then is what did we actually find, and what was relevant to the 2020 election, and how did certain people co-opt that information, use it to their own benefit, or misinterpret the information or the results that we had received in order for their own benefit. So I think those are all issues that are unresolved, but certainly for this discussion, that statement still holds up today. No question about it.
So Matt, over the last 6 years, I'll just take the first few years. You take some hits. You take some pretty significant hits. I think we've probably found that there are many. Here's what I've learned over the last 6 years, that there's many bad actors. Now, you and I don't agree on who the bad actors are, to say, but we've both had our conflicts with people who, frankly, are, that when the merry-go-round stopped and you played, the musical chairs, there weren't enough chairs for people to sit down, and the people that shouldn't have sat down and pushed people out of the way. Is that a fair assessment?
Well, I think that's a fair assessment. The question then is, who are those people that were in the chairs? And that's probably where you and I may disagree on some of this stuff. But nevertheless, we don't need to get into that here and now. But the issue being, when we talk about what happened then at that time with that report, that was a good report. It was a solid report. The Democrats and their experts tried to debunk it. They pushed out a report where they claimed it was debunked. We pushed out another report debunking that debunking, and that's how it goes. But sometimes that's litigation. What I didn't know, Joe, at the time, was while that case was going on, the Michigan Attorney General had infiltrated into my network and was actively talking to expert witnesses and a private investigator while the case was pending, while it was moving forward. That's illegal in Michigan. A prosecuting attorney cannot infiltrate a civil case in order to gain information to prosecute someone.
Which they did. They did with you and with Stephanie Lambert.
In violation of attorney-client privilege and the private investigator privilege in Michigan. So they were building a case against us, the very same attorneys I was litigating against. Illegal, can't do that. And then threaten those expert witnesses to turn over communications, which they then used and even misinterpreted it as to what they meant. It's pretty interesting because the prosecutors in my case completely misinterpret things that they read and then use it in their category as evidence. But we got two issues on appeal right now in my case. It's now, we're talking many years, 5 years later. that I'm still fighting these people. I've had 2 trials with the Michigan bar. They're both concluded, but we don't know the results yet. But that's happened, but significantly 4 felony charges. That's a big deal when the government weaponizes its office against people just because they file a lawsuit, a civil lawsuit challenging portions of the 2020 election.
All right, I'm gonna take a quick little thing here. If you're actually watching right now, this is probably one of the most revealing interviews we're going to have. I'm going to ask you to just hit the share button, regardless of the platform you're on. Yes, I understand that we're being censored. I just got a note saying that people can't watch us on Rumble. Nothing I can do about that, but you can pick another platform. So we have X. If you're on X, just go ahead and hit the share button. You don't have to say anything about it, but you can talk about it on the platform there. If you're on Facebook, do the same thing. I'm just asking for the people that are on there to hit share. Sharing is sharing is caring. And if you're on the other apps, which is on Roku, I just appreciate you being there. If you're on Amazon, appreciate you being there. If you're on some of the other platforms, again, it's your obligation or it's your responsibility to share the truth. If it's truth, then you have to be able to share it. So I'm going to go through some important factual data related to what happened back in 2020 and how that is carried forward with Matt DePerno. Now, the bad part is they try to sweat people out. And what they've done to Matt is, who's going to go hire an attorney? I'll just say this now. Who's going to go hire an attorney that is facing 4 felony counts? Because I've said to Matt, just get out there and just get after it. And he's like, Joe, here's the reality of it. It's like being on fire with nuclear material. So hit the share button. Really important as we go through some of the things that we're going to go through. And I want to give Matt an opportunity to speak on a broad platform. And this is definitely one of those platforms. So, Matt, I want to take you back to 2020, back into December of 2020, and kind of move forward. I want to slow it down. People are not as smart as you are. They don't have as much information as you have. You will. It's just a lot. You've been through a lot over the last 6 years. But I want to take you back.
Before we do that, I just want to provide a little more context to what we're talking about.
All right.
So after I got indicted in 2023. Now, mind you, I've not even had a preliminary exam yet, which is crazy. But here we are. But in the spring of 2025, I think it was, my attorney and me, we went and met with the prosecuting attorneys. They were trying to find a way for me to plead to some lesser charge in order for me to cooperate with them. In particular, they wanted my communications with Donald Trump and other people within the Trump organization. But nevertheless, there was no deal to be made. I don't think there ever was a deal to be made. But what was interesting that came out of that conversation is I asked them specifically, why did you indict me? Because the charge is unauthorized possession of a voting machine. Now, you can look at those words and try to unpack what that means. Number one, what is a voting machine? Number two, what is unauthorized possession? But it seems pretty simple to me. Unauthorized possession means simply possession not authorized by law, right? Something that's illegal. But they admitted to me that they didn't have one single witness who could testify that I ever touched a tabulator. Number two, I never talked to a local clerk. I never asked permission to gain access to any voting equipment. So other people did that and sent me reports, which I used in the Antrim County case. So I asked, you don't have any of this, you don't have any evidence to actually tie me to access to any voting equipment. So why did you indict me? And what he said was interesting. The prosecutor said, because I got the train rolling. Okay. What he meant by that was I started the process by filing the Antrim litigation. I had the most successful case in the country, which he acknowledged. He thought I actually did well litigating that case. But he said that by bringing that case, that gave people sort of the courage to have these conversations, to talk about whether our voting system was secure or not secure. He said, I got the train rolling. Okay, I said, but where's that leave me in terms of culpability? What's my culpability in this case? On a scale of 1 to 100, I asked him, what is my culpability? Do you know what he told me? Take a guess. Well, I can't hear you.
Sorry, there you go. No, hit me.
What do you think he said? He said 2 or 3. So I got indicted based on the prosecutor's own words because I got the train rolling by filing a civil litigation case, and my culpability is a 2 or 3. That's the lawfare that we often talk about. That's what the Democrats did to me. That's what the Attorney General did to me. But it gets even worse when you dig down into the Arctic Frost documents and realize how much money they spent putting me at the top of the list to go after me. And they did that when the state of Michigan spent, let me look at the number here, $3.5 million, which was financed through Democrat Attorney General Association, and then Arabella Advisors and States United Democracy Center to litigate and create a document that had me at the top of the list as people who needed to be prosecuted. So that's just the context of where we are and what happened because of what I did and what we uncovered in the Antrim litigation.
Well, let's, the fact that lawfare is being used against you is not uncommon. I think one of my biggest problems that I have is that they use state law in order to circumvent a system that has been federally recognized, or that the rights of the elections has been handed to be regulated by the federal government, right? So they passed HAVA. That means that Congress passed it. It went to the president signed off on it. That means that it puts elections under the scrutiny and control of the federal government. Is that correct?
Sure, but states still, under the 14th Amendment, still have they still run their own elections. We still have state laws, and in Michigan we have Michigan election laws, and states run their own elections according to those laws.
So they run the election according to those laws, but have a set of standard, and we haven't even applied that standard or even adhered to that standard on a federal level. It's like it's the law of convenience. But if you look carefully at what's happened across the country in all 50 states, you're hard pressed to find any state that actually adheres to the standards of HAVA. Is that accurate?
Well, I think that's absolutely accurate, and I can say in my research and in defending myself, without question, the state of Michigan has violated its own election law many, many times, has bastardized that law in its own interpretation, has issued unlawful guidance and regulations regarding that law. And more importantly, there's also the issue of the non-delegation, unconstitutional non-delegation of authority, when our legislatures actually hand off authority to the executive branch through enabling statutes. That has to stop. At some point, the legislatures have to stop giving their power to the executive branch.
All right. So the issue that I have with this is that there's no sticks and carrots in order to get the state to apply the laws legally, right? So it's a relatively lawless society. Would you agree that if we look across the different states, and especially the blue states, and one that you're in, and would definitely qualify for that, is that they've gotten away with crimes for so long that the judiciary is now rotted to the core because the people that have been elected are actually selected, and they put people that are cronies that continue to basically create this more cartelish type of environment at every level. Because if that wasn't true, you still wouldn't be under indictment. They've plenty of information, plenty of data out there. I mean, all of the evidence exists that would prove what you're saying is true about the fact that they weaponized the system against you. And yet here you sit, and it doesn't feel like that the powers to be are concerned with what they've done to people who have sacrificed the last 6 years.
Well, certainly. I mean, I've got motions to dismiss that have been sitting around for 12 and so 19 months that have not been ruled on in my case.
But you could file a complaint against the judge under the judicial conduct part of the state, which then is under the purview of the attorney general, which means you're not going to get anywhere, because no matter what you do, they're not going to hit anyone over the head with a stick inside of their own cartel government.
Yeah, and in our state, it's under the purview of the Michigan Supreme Court, but certainly
the Michigan Supreme Court is still run. The Attorney General's office is still. I mean, they're right next to each other, right?
Yeah, they're all run by Democrats. That's right.
Yeah. So I mean, it's the same as Colorado. The Supreme Court has the judicial disciplinary board, right? But it's closely connected to the AG's office. As a matter of fact, investigations are done by people that are in the AG's office, right? So it's basically a cartel. It's organized crime, and it's gotten away with it for so long that there isn't any apparatus inside of most judicial offices or courtrooms that allow for us to pursue a legal remedy. We're trapped. We're slaves.
Well, all I'll respond to that is we've got two appeals going up to the Michigan Court of Appeals right now, interlocutory appeals, and.
But isn't it true, Matt, you can't actually respond to me in a way that would validate that anyway, even if you felt the same way, because you could put your bar license in jeopardy by actually criticizing the court. Isn't that true, that the system is set up to criticize you if you were to criticize the judiciary in such a way that it would cause shame to them?
Yeah, I'd be brought up on a formal complaint with the Michigan Judicial or the Michigan Attorney Grievance Commission for saying something negative about the court that would bring dishonor to the court or to the profession, for sure.
So I mean, and I've had this conversation with multiple attorneys dealing with lots of different things, from big pharma to what was happening with Fauci to some of the rulings that have gone for people that have lost their jobs. Most notably in Arizona, where an entire group of people that worked for Raytheon were fired and dismissed for not getting the jab, and then the judge just basically threw it out and said, "Yeah, we're not going to hear any of this case." So, I mean, we're what I'm describing is I think what people are feeling and have been feeling for a long time. We didn't see it. Most of us didn't have to deal with the court systems, so we didn't see it. But it's obviously degraded to a level now where a lot more people who are ethical are facing that bitter tip of the spear, so to speak.
Yeah, my avenue is to file motions and briefs within the court adversarial system and try to get rulings. And in my case, the court rules require judges rule on issues within 35 days. I've got motions outstanding for 17 months, and significant motions too. For instance, a motion to compel the prosecutors to turn over information to me about government agents, confidential human sources, and undercover agents that had infiltrated into those election investigations, including Antrim County, and they refused to turn over that information.
So I mean, I need to go back to 2020. I've got some unresolved issues that I think have led to just kind of this slow. It happened with me too, right? So in large part, I came out and said, "Look, I want people tried for treason. When they're found guilty of treason, I want them to hang by the neck till dead." Right? I want the punishment for treason is what? It's death, right? It's in the law. If you don't like it, change the law, right?
Well, that's the law. I'm not disagreeing with you on that. I'm not calling for people to be.
You're not. I have.
Yeah,
but
I'm not. Just so we're clear.
Okay, but my point is that you're not advocating for what I think the law. I think that this is not a victimless crime, and I don't think that what we've faced as a country is, if you want to have a deterrent, if you want to create deterrence, you have to do deterrence inside the judiciary. You have to strip qualified immunity from the judges, from the people that frankly say that they rule over us, or above that lawless line. Right. And it's like a millstone on the chest of Americans, where they don't feel like they can have any sort of justice. There just doesn't exist. So I call for something that degrades the ability of people like, oh my gosh, Joe's calling for violence. He's calling for violence. Get away from violence. It's not violence. It's actually law. If you kill someone in certain states, you get the death penalty. In this case, you do something to hurt Americans, you get the death penalty. Right. If you affect the sovereignty of our nation and you commit treason, then you're punished that way. Regardless, there's a degradation that has happened. You were at the tip of the spear. You were one of the first people to step out. You did so under the guise that you'd be protected. Now, I would argue that Mayor Giuliani got a $160 million judgment against him. They took everything from him. There was complete disregard for the rule of law over those 6 years, or a large part of those 6 years. So there's not a whole lot he could have done for you, even if he wanted to. Now, given that, we go forward, and I want to get back to 2020, because this is when I think that people missed all the information that we had up front. We had the ability in November, December, and January to really take a different path. We could have taken a left, signed the Insurrection Act, done some things to get the military in, confiscated the machines, made sure that we actually got this information and put this to bed. Instead, we spent 6 years begging people to do the right thing. Is that accurate?
I mean, I don't know where if the Insurrection Act how that would have turned out. I've got issues with how that came about and whether that would have been a good idea or not. But it didn't happen, so it doesn't matter really in my analysis. What matters is the information we obtained, what it meant, what it didn't mean, I would say. Where we go from there. I don't know. What could have happened is a different story, but here we are today, and I think the question ultimately is, we still have a problem in this country, and how do we fix it? But we got to recognize what the problem is, and we're still chasing our tail to some extent.
Well, we're negotiating with terrorists, right? We're negotiating with people ridiculous. We're debating the ridiculous when we already have all the information. The information hasn't changed.
No, it has changed. The Democrats have revised their system. We're chasing our tail about what happened in 2020, and they've moved on.
And now it's smoothed edges, and frankly, because they've also changed laws and made it impossible to get access to cast vote records, now everything is a glitch. Everything is a vendor's problem. Everything is a vendor's fault. And now you can't see what was we had avenues to get into the system in order to be able to validate things. We did that for 4 years, 2020, 2022, 2024. And you'd be hard pressed in 2026 that any of the elections that you have in 2026 that you're going to be able to, other than understanding mathematically that it's not possible for that to happen, they now have polls that are miraculously lining up with what they say in the machines now. It's crazy.
Well, I don't disagree with that. But what I'm saying is that while we chased our tail in the past, they're revising their system, they're revising their algorithms, and continuing to cheat in our elections. And because we have no united front, or no leader within this fight that we have, we're never going to catch up to them in that respect, because we're simply not aligned in that effort. I think that's a hard truth that people don't necessarily want to talk about. But the question is, what did we find in Antrim? What did we not find? How the public narrative diverged from the evidence. And I think that the truth is the full story has never been told. And I think it will. I think now is the time to tell the story of what actually happened in Antrim. talk about the people who wanted to hurt the president, talk about the spy, the confidential informants that came into that process, the undercover agents, the people sent to misdirect and mislead the investigation. I think that story needs to be told.
Well, I think there's quite a few of them, but I want to play this for you real quick. This is a video that you did just recently, and I share some of your pain. Actually, I don't share it to the same degree that you have, because my identity was never really, I could still go out and build tech. I could still go out and sell guns. I could still go out and build companies and do stuff, and I could still do that. It was my profession. Although I do run into it, I'll go in and pitch a Fortune 50 company, and they're like, "Oh, you're the insurrectionist." And I'm like, "That checks." So I'm like, "But my technology is better than anybody else's. So if you want the technology, great. Otherwise, I'll go hunt down your competitor." So I mean, I have lost millions of dollars as a result of this, but I'm able to still to work within those confines, right? And I'm comfortable with it. I think with you, the difference is that you are in a profession where the entire system is the millstone on your chest. But I want to play this video. This is talking about direct access into the election systems in the 2020 election. Let's go ahead and play it.
We've proved now that there was direct access to the Antrim County election management system because we show on November 5th, we can see it in the forensic images, that an anonymous user logged onto the EMS remotely with escalated privileges and made changes to the database when they were trying to retabulate the election. So that's one huge development because now we prove that the machines were remotely accessed, and more importantly, they were remotely accessed by an anonymous user who had elevated privileges in the system. That is pretty damning for the non-forensic reviewers out there, or people who do not want a forensic audit. And the other thing probably is equally explosive. Everyone's seen ballots before, like these ballots here. On the side of the ballot, there's these black boxes. There's 59 black boxes on the side of the ballot. We now see within the forensic images that in Antrim County, those blocks 15, 18, 28, 41, and 44 were all intentionally modified. The height and the width, the shape of those blocks were intentionally modified in order to generate errors. What does an error do? In this case, by modifying those specific blocks, they were able to cause rejections for Republican ballots. Meaning if you voted for Donald Trump and then put your ballot in the machine, your ballot was rejected at a rate of 20% more than Joe Biden ballots.
Now that was in 2020. That was an interview you did in 2021.
Yeah, I think April or May of 2021. Yeah, all true, by the way.
Still true.
Yeah, still true. And none of that was fabricated. That was all based on evidence. That was all relevant to our case and informative to the issues.
You had less gray hair then.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I was going to say, right.
I had less gray hair then too. I mean, I always like to say that you see a president go into politics, come out, he comes out looking as if he aged 20 years. I would argue that, when you're fighting for the American people and against evil, that we can see why Abraham's beard turned white, right?
Yeah, right. No, but all true. Those were all ballot anomalies that we found. There was definitely unauthorized access with elevated privileges at significant times. Also, right before the county was recounting the results, and they recounted, I think, 3 or 4 times at the time, and every recount was wrong. But before every recount, there was an intrusion into the system from an anonymous user, so that all happened. That was all true.
You and I sat down on a couch It was January 5th, 2021. We didn't know who we were. We just sat down and started talking to each other. We were upstairs in a hotel, and I didn't even know who you were. And you didn't know who I was. You're like, I'm sorry, who are you? And then the runoff election happened on Jan 5, and I was there briefing them on the 4th and the 5th over what was going to happen in the runoff election in Georgia, and I built this model. And we went together on Jan 6, and it was a whirlwind. I believe we went to like 3 other places. We saw, a group of NSA, I don't know if I'm saying this right, but previous NSA and DNI people, but a bunch of programmers, people that were really smart, that sat in rooms and were able to validate a bunch of information on the fact that the elections were stolen. Accurate?
Accurate. We're not downtown at the Capitol.
Yeah, we were not downtown at the Capitol. We were not. We did not go to the Ellipsis. John Eastman did, and the information that he provided on the stage at the Ellipsis was the information that he got directly from me and from you. Correct?
That's correct. Yeah. We did not speak. Neither of us spoke downtown. John Eastman did, and paid the price for it.
He definitely paid the price for it. He was disbarred in California. There's a lot more to that story than just that, but there's been a lot of people that I've talked to that we've paid a pretty hefty price and almost forgotten, but we're not forgotten. But I want to bring it to something that you put up. This is a post that you put up describing that. You put up on April 13th, 2026. And this is on January 6, 2021. I briefed Ehrlich Breckbull, counsel for Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, inside a secure State Department SCIF about the 2020 stolen election. No phones, no computers, no electronics, paper only. For several hours, I walked through forensic evidence. It was not about anything abstract. It was always about fake ballots. I showed him ballot run manipulation, ballot mapping schemes, who printed them, how they were shipped, routes they traveled, and how they were counted. Assignment of fake ghost ballots to registered voters through inflated QVF records, variant of subversion, error rates, and remediation patterns, pattern anomalies, including off-site printing, irregular formatting, oversized internal blocks, inside marker manipulations, system vulnerabilities, including anonymous external connections with elevated privileges and hard-coded passwords such as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Page after page, data analysis, forensics. We talked about a guy named Ben Smith. He knew. I want to stop there for a minute. Don't take this down yet. But there was a point, Matt, that I looked at you, you looked at me. He was sweating. The room was very cool. And he knew that we knew that he knew what was happening. Like you just knew. Right? Is that accurate?
Oh, you're talking about Ulrich?
Yeah.
Yeah, Ulrich knew. Ulrich knew what we were talking about. No question about it.
He asked a simple question, though. He goes, why would anybody do that as he's sweating?
He also said, this could never happen in our country. This is what we do in foreign countries. We would never let it happen here.
Yeah.
And we looked at him and said, it is happening here. No, we did it on a SCIF, no phones, no computers, totally isolated, with the right-hand man of Mike Pompeo.
Who snuck out, by the way, just so you know, that the meeting was supposed to be with Mike Pompeo, and he snuck out so that he would have the ability to say he did not have firsthand knowledge.
No, you're right. We ended up in there with Ulrich, not who we were supposed to meet with, but we did. And everything there is true. Everything I showed him everything there. You did too. You had your analysis. I had my analysis. It was interesting how your analysis and my analysis sort of lined up once we overlaid them one on top of the other.
And we had never had a conversation. I mean, we had brief conversations on the 4th, or on the 5th. That everyone thought I was nuts and that the election on the 5th would not go the way I said it would. I even told them how it would flip, when it would flip. And you and I were like, it was almost like dolphin speak. And, but you see, I want to finish this because I think it's important. Ben Smith, who we're going to talk about here in a minute, he knew. I was later indicted by Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel because I filed a lawsuit in Antrim County in 2020. One of the prosecutors told me directly that I was charged because I started the train rolling. This is lawfare. It was used to silence me. The story is not being told by Michigan media. That is about to change. And in the bottom of this, there's some familiar things that we've talked about. And it is the model that I've probably put up 1,000 times that is still true today. Like, we were able to use this to validate everything that we have uncovered, whether it be Mesa County, Antrim County, Maricopa County, Tarrant County, Nevada. It doesn't matter where you go. The system and how they were able to defraud the system was the same in nearly every county, and in every county, and with even different election systems, ES&S, Smartmatic, and Dominion being specific ones that we have talked about. You had another document that was here as well that is a memorandum of investigative activity. Tell us about this for a minute.
Well, this was a document I put up just because it talked about Ulrich. Ulrich is in there. Ulrich, counselor for Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. They talk about him being on a phone call at the Department of State, and this is at about previously. I think this was July of 2019, and it talks about similar issues about our elections. What's relevant to this is it just demonstrates, based on the timing, that Ulrich knew exactly what we were talking about when we briefed him on that skiff, and he pretended like this was all new information. He pretended like he was clueless about this. When we look back on that now, when I do, it's absolutely outrageous the way he acted that day. Based on what information now it turns out through these disclosed memorandums that he actually knew about.
So let me, and that's actually the reason why I want to bring it up, is because he did know about it. He had knowledge of this nearly a year beforehand. Neither you nor I had anything to do with politics or anything to do with administration. We hadn't had sit downs with them. There was no planned meeting. We didn't know who Eric Coomer was. There was no, like, prior to November of 2020, we were just trying to figure out how to navigate this pandemic that had plagued us since March of 2020, right? I mean, none of us would have anticipated the summer of love and burning down buildings and Black Lives Matter and communist societies and all this other, and big corporations giving them hundreds of millions of dollars. And we wouldn't even have fathomed any of this could happen on our soil. Is that accurate for you? That's accurate for me.
Well, a little bit. I mean, during that summer, I was doing work for people throughout the state regarding COVID. People not being able to get treatment, people not being able to see their loved ones. I was giving speeches to people in basements, and people were terrified. They were terrified. They thought they were going to be arrested because we were at the events where we were talking about these issues. So I saw a little bit about that, but certainly Olympus fell, I think, on election day in November of 2020.
But as we went through this process, we surmised that we understood things, and we would go through that. The election in large part was going to be stolen. Obviously, the devil has to tell you what he's going to do. It's biblical before he does it, and so a large part of what we're seeing is the devil is telling us what they had to do. But as we go forward on this, as we look forward on this, there's so much more that I think that we've forgotten. You put up another post. I want to put this up, and I'll let you explain it and talk through it. But this is, the Democrats have Arabella Advisors, 1630 Fund, labor unions, Democracy Alliance, and other super PACs. They also have the Lazarus and Echo program used to rig elections, created by the architect and SPLC, funded by Soros and protected by the curator and States United. To keep Republicans silent, the Democrats gave our candidates $900,000 in tax money and enough insider information so they could buy stock in pharmaceuticals at the right time. That's it. Matt, what are you talking about? What do you mean that's it?
Well, the point being that this is a post in response to someone else. We're talking about local Michigan politics here, and the governor election here coming up to the Republican primary. There's one candidate, John James, who's applied for state matching funds of up to, I think, $990,000. And the question is, it's a question in Michigan about funding mechanisms, whether candidates are properly funded. My take on all of this is you're never going to be properly funded in Michigan. I ran for Attorney General in 2022. We raised a lot of money. We got on par with, or on parity with the Democrat candidate, but near the end, not throughout the entire election, but near the end. But in the end, I was within 1 point even in polling and ended up losing by 8. The point being is we're kidding ourselves if we think our elections are going to rise and fall based on whether one candidate gets $900,000 from the state or not. And that was the point of this is, the Democrats have, as I say, Arabella advisors. They got the 1630 fund. They got labor unions, Democracy Alliance, and other super PACs. They are going to bury Republicans regardless. And then they also got your graph, the graph you put up. I sometimes refer to it because I've heard talk of it within Democrat circles, that it's referred to as Lazarus and Echo. And that's, that's what they call it.
What do you mean by Lazarus and Echo? What do you mean?
In terms of like, I have a concept of that idea. It's a two-layered system within the way the Democrats, as we would say, rigged the elections, what they did in 2020. Lazarus being the registration layer, how they manipulate the qualified voter files through state registrations with dead and inactive records, how they record it's basically resurrection, right? Lazarus, resurrection of dead voters throughout the system, and how ballots are issued against those revised records. And then on the other side, the echo part of the program is the ballot layers, where they target real registrations. Once the Democrats know who voted, what else do they know?
Who didn't vote.
You're right. And then they can manipulate those voting records within the poll books.
I'm not sure everyone understands the concept behind what we're saying right now, because
so this is where I get frustrated with the idea of machines. People want to talk about machines a lot, but we got to start talking about registration layer and ballot layer. That's Lazarus and Echo.
It's funny you brought up Lazarus and Echo. You're the only one on the Republican side I've heard refer to it as Lazarus and Echo, but I was able to get into a call that was happening with the Democrat Socialists of America, the DSA chapter, and they talked about Lazarus and Echo, and I didn't really understand what it meant at the time. And I try to do as much as I can to get into chat groups and to create layers where I can get on calls just to listen. And what you're saying is accurate in such a way that they know, like everyone knows. But what's more appalling about the Democrats knowing, including the Democrat candidates, by the way, is that the Republican candidates and the people in government that are Republicans that are chartered to protect our vote, they know too. Pontoon knows.
There's no doubt. I'm trying to, if you want, I can send you sort of a graph.
Yeah, please do.
Of what I'm talking about, but there's a lot of people within our systems who don't want to acknowledge what I think are the hard truths about our election system. And there's a lot of people who want to continue to promote ideas regarding voting machines, as they term them. And I think, they may be off base on that. But here, I'm going to drop this to you if you want.
Okay. Yeah, just get it to me and I'll put it back in the thing and I will share it.
Coming to you now. But this is the idea that this is the diagram as I developed in the Antrim litigation. This was our case as we presented, and then later further developed through information we've obtained in the criminal case against me.
Kelly, I'm really sorry. I just got a text message from Kelly. Joe, I cannot actually watch you on Rumble. Every time I go to listen to you, I have to refresh. Kelly, go ahead over to X. This is the perfect time to tell everyone again, this is an important conversation to have. I'd appreciate it if you'd hit the share button. We need to speak more about what really happened and where the information that we forgot about over 6 years ago and that we've built on over the last 6 years has really not been. I mean, you're a slave. You're an institutional slave, and Matt was again at the tip of the spear back 6 years ago. And these items, these artifacts that we're sharing, are still hold true today, 6 years later.
Well, they do. They still hold up. I mean, what we developed back then, based on information we had at the time, still holds up today as to at least what the data is, for sure. There's no question about it.
I have a question that came up that I think is important, and that is, did the Secretary of State ever tell you that there was a foreign network, Chinese, Serbian, Venezuelan at Dominion? Did that ever come up?
No, that never came up. But we did find within our data, we found connections within China. We found China IP addresses communicating with election equipment.
But isn't it curious that Eric Coomer is now talking about giving access to Serbia to their source code in Denver? And we know things like the roaming networks, which was funded by Huawei, which is China, paid for their data center in Serbia, right, in Belgrade, and that you can trace that back to what happened in the United States and the Venezuelans that worked for Dominion and still continue to work for, Liberty Vote, that understand the substructures of the system. I mean, it kind of all plays together, right? China, Venezuela, Serbia. It's like a big circle, off grid, off out of the country, can do whatever they want type of grid or circle.
Well, I mean, I think there's no doubt, based on information we've learned. Well, with that we've known. I would say we've known it for a long time. The president just talked about it a couple of weeks ago. Like I'm watching the reruns of a movie that I've already lived through, right? As if this is new information that he's disclosing to the public.
Completely crazy. Remember Raul from Romania? I know you remember it because I called you and I was like, Matt, what am I going to do with this guy? He's like, I have the information. I have Fox IT. I have all information from the CIA. I worked for them. I collected names, social security numbers, address that was used to defraud people in the voting in the U.S. He's now in prison, by the way, in Romania for trumped up charges by a politician. It all plays together. It all goes together.
But I think the president was correct in terms of documenting and revealing certainly that China has been involved in trying to interfere with elections. The Venezuela part, I think he was cautious in the way he framed it, that they certainly cheat in their own elections, and that's the way he framed it. So I think all that is still relevant to the conversation, and I actually appreciate the way he framed it, and I'm glad that he started releasing documents because we got another election coming up in November. In Michigan, the Secretary of State here, who's now running for governor and will get the Democratic Party nomination in August, she will then be the Secretary of State running and managing her own election where she's running for governor. That's crazy. But
okay, here's the picture. Here's the Lazarus and Echo. Let's put that up. So you have the registration there. Go ahead and explain this, Matt.
Well, like I said, there's just on the blue, it's the registration layer. This is the stale registrations. You can go through my Twitter feed and see where I've talked many times about stale registrations. Dead or inactive records stay listed within the qualified voter file system. Those records are activated within the system. They're not deleted, is what that means. They're kept there. They're maintained there. And ballots are generated through the qualified voter system and the what do they call them? The absentee ballot system, absentee ballot applications, where those applications are sent out to the people within the system and within these stale registrations. That's just incontroverted. It's just a fact. That's what happens. And then the echo layer is just ballot layer, targets identified, real registrates who won't vote, as we've talked about many times before. If you know who votes, you know who didn't vote. Identities are mirrored. There's no question that happens. And ballot cast, votes entered under mirrored identities. There's no question that this happens. And the results are an inflated count, 2 layers, 1 padded tally. But if you actually go back and do an audit, as they say, where you tie the poll book to the ballots that you have, if you count them hand by hand, you're always going to come up with the correct number. It will always match under that system.
Well, we saw what happened in Georgia. They didn't. They had to pull votes out of the spoiled package in order to make them actually match. And we saw, what was it? I don't remember the number, but it was a significant number of people that were dead voters in Georgia. And we talked about the fact that if you know who didn't vote, you know who voted, and you have low propensity people that don't vote, you just go back out, pick those votes up, attach them to databases of voters that are fed into the system, and now all of a sudden you have legitimate voters. And there's nothing you can't. I mean, in certain systems, you have the ability to make them look like they were filled out by a human hand, and they can generate the ballot inside the ballot image, which is typically what they count. And now all of a sudden, whammo, you have a election that looks like on its face is legitimate, and yet it's an illegitimate election, like most elections in the United States.
Well, I mean, and that ties to with what the president talked about when he talked about the Muskegon County, Michigan cover-up. 8,000 to 10,000 fraudulent ballot applications sent to the county. And investigations by the Michigan Attorney General and the FBI. That investigation was closed in 2025, totally buried, with no indictments at all. That's what he was talking about when he talked about the Michigan problem. The Michigan Attorney General and the FBI want us to believe that none of those 8,000 to 10,000 ballots made their way into the system, but there's no verification of that. They just say that. But not one single charge. I mean, there were crimes. I mean, there were rented vans, there were prepaid cell phones, there was clearly fraudulent ballot applications, fraudulent identities, fraudulent birth dates used in that Muskegon County problem, and not one single charge was brought. And yet it's that prosecutor in Muskegon County, a guy named DJ Hilson, who has indicted me. He's the prosecutor on my case, and his chief deputy, Tim Mott, is the guy that told me I was indicted because I got the train rolling and that my culpability was 2 to 3%. So you can't tell me that it doesn't tie in terms of what's happening. But Lazarus Echo sort of echoes the Muskegon County problem as well. And back before the November election, I also tweeted about this and showed very clearly how we had caught the Secretary of State in Michigan with many, many duplicated entries within the qualified voter file. That's a real thing.
Matt, why is it that there is, in your opinion, why is there no appetite to have people prosecuted for the crimes that they've committed? And I mean, let's just say anyone. Let's talk about Fauci. Let's talk about, you know, the people that have committed these crimes. Why do you think that there's no appetite to have them prosecuted? Because no one's prosecuted, and you're sitting here still facing 4 felonies. Stephanie Lambert still facing 4 felonies, right? Why? Tell me why, with all of the evidence that we have, that is so in your face, so easy to see, is there no appetite to do the right thing and to seek justice?
That's an easy question to answer because it sort of answers itself. The very people that could prosecute those cases stood on the sidelines while it happened and watched the world go by.
Yeah.
And to now prosecute people for that would sort of indict themselves in their own compliance. I think that's the answer. I mean, in Michigan, you know, I was one of the people on the front lines during the COVID problem that we had here in Michigan. You know, I was helping people who couldn't get into hospitals to see their dying loved ones, helping people to get certain drugs like ivermectin that the government wouldn't give them. You know, so we had many people within the Republican Party who were masked up, who were acting as though the world was ending. And now for them to come forward, or any prosecutor, we got 83 counties in Michigan. You know, most of them, frankly, are Republican counties, probably 60, 55, maybe 60. We've got a lot of Republican prosecutors within the state of Michigan who did nothing during that time to protect people's individual rights. To now come forward and prosecute people for crimes that occurred before would demonstrate their own complicity while people's rights were being violated, and they don't want to do that.
All right, so you've made it clear that the election systems that we use today are, and largely they've smoothed out the edges. You agree with me on that, right? And it's seeing these things up front and personal because of the things that, you know, the glitches and things that they've almost made themselves impermeable to scrutiny because you can't see anything. Is that accurate?
No, I don't think it's as complicated as that. I think they certainly have revised the system. They've updated the system to some extent, smoothed out the edges. That's accurate, but I think it's still very easy to
I agree.
To see what they're doing if you know what you're looking for. I think the problem is that the people who are in charge right now aren't looking for what they should be looking for. They're looking for something that they thought existed in 2020.
Yeah, well, and in large part that has to do with the people that are in power that don't have any ability to be curious, or it doesn't favor them to be curious as it pertains to John Thune. Let me ask you this though: given all the information that you have, do you think that any of these systems should be used in the election in November? Then,
no, I think our entire electronic voting system. And you know, I know about Michigan. I
almost said machines, by the way, and I figured you'd punch me in the face through the screen.
Well, I'm going to get you to stop doing that. But you know, I know about Michigan. I know about Pennsylvania, Arizona, you know, some other states. You know, I can say that the system in Michigan, number one, it doesn't comply with Michigan law. It's completely non-compliant, but we're still using it. And it's a system that's designed on the sort of the framework of a very corruptible system. And I use that word intentionally. It doesn't mean it is corrupted, but it can be very easily.
Right.
And we proved it could be corruptible or corrupted. It is corruptible. And we know, I would say, I think we know what happened in 2020. We know how the election was stolen. And they're going to.
It was worse in 2022, and since then, the down ballot votes have been absolutely just disgustingly stolen in nearly all 50 states.
Yeah, I don't disagree with any of that. But what I'm saying is that I think that no, I don't think our system as it stands should be used anywhere in this country. It is designed to fail. And if you know what you're looking for, you could manipulate it. And I once did an interview where I said, look, me and a handful of people, and me at the time who didn't know relatively anything about that problem, and I was learning as it went along. But me and a handful of people could figure it out. You're telling me that China hasn't known about this for years?
Yeah, put me in, coach. I mean, I often say that you could take a bunch of people that I know are very highly competent, such as yourself, Stephanie Lambert, David Clements. I'm going to put myself in there, Ben Cotton. And there are people that you're not going to agree with me that I'm going to put on this team. But if we could get the super team put together and we walked into Washington and we strutted in there, we could literally Wreck-It Ralph and fix the entire system. It would probably take us 2 to 3 weeks. I mean, you'd have to go back to a paper ballot in person, have an ID, that you'd have to pass the SAVE Act, and you'd have to implement HAVA standards, which we don't have in any state. But we could literally fix this and take this entire election conversation off the table in a matter of weeks. So why hasn't that happened, by the way? just as I'm curious why something like that we would be the NFL team of NFL teams. We could walk in and be like, nope. We could sit in the same room, work it out, massage it, build a system, and say, here transparently to the American people, here's how it would work. And by the way, now you don't have selections anymore. You have elections. Dilly dilly.
Well, I think, again, that question answers itself. You know, the people who are put in charge right now don't want other people to come in and, piss in their sandbox, right? But again, those people who are in charge now are trying to, I guess the best way to say it is they're trying to verify theories that they pushed in 2021 rather than trying to actually solve the problem.
All right. So I've got so many other questions, but I got to ask you about this. Is Georgia one of the states that you've actually looked at heavily? Because I've concentrated a lot in Georgia and things that are happening there. Have you spent any time?
I wouldn't say as heavily as Michigan, but Georgia's different than Michigan. They actually have different systems. They may actually have something called a voting machine.
Yeah.
Where people actually select their candidate on a touch screen, where they vote on the actual piece
uses QR codes.
We don't do that in Michigan, but they do have different systems that we have. But ultimately, it's still based on the same Lazarus Echo system. That's the framework.
Did you know? Yeah, it is a framework. I think that's really important, by the way, that people understand the difference between frameworks, how firmware actually operates inside of the machines that are there. So we'll call them machines because they are machines. And that firmware is different than software, and that firmware can have an influence as well as hardware. But firmware is permanent in the system. It helps the system or the machine work. Did you know that the printers that were used in Georgia largely were programmed, the firmware was programmed in China? The actual firmware.
I don't know what printers they used, but that probably makes
MBPs.
sense.
Yeah.
It probably makes sense that happened. I mean, any printer that you have, if you have any type of Dell printer or something like that, I mean, ultimately, you're going to be able to source back the program into China, right?
No, not true. Actually, Dell has a whole thing where they make sure that the hardware comes over with the specs of what the machine is capable of doing, and the firmware is actually put into the machine in the United States.
Oh, good.
So, I mean, there's some things that have radically changed on how we import in computers, even iPhones, by the way. The subsystem, when they go through and upgrade firmware on those machines, are typically done using U.S. sources, even if they're on foreign soil. And there's a process to it, right? So you can actually validate it and document it. Sorry, keywords of things that I know. All right, so there's a person that I don't know if you're familiar with. Are you familiar with Edmundo Rojas? Worked for Dominion in 2020.
I've heard many names like that, but maybe.
So he worked for Dominion in 2020. Guess where he works now? He's from Caracas.
I don't know.
He works for Liberty Vote.
Okay. Well, it's the same company.
Same company. So you saw the thing where they put the shell over it, where Patrick put the company. He's like, "Wow, he makes no, that's just the same company." Puts it right over it. It's really what it is. It's just it's like they passed it on to a new cartel boss.
Well, all they did was change they sold out. They did a sale of the company, but changed the name. It's still the same company.
And the same, they said, he did say, the guy that ran it says, it's business as usual. Everything stays the same, just a new name. His words.
Well, I think that's true. I think it's undeniable that it's still the same company. I don't know. Is anyone disputing that? Is there like a real dispute that it's the same company within?
Well, they're still operating our elections, Matt. I mean, this is, I think,
they're
one
not
of the things.
Disputing that they're a new company, are they?
Yes, they are. I mean, they're basically saying pinky swear everything's fine, and that we're good to go. Everything's good to go. We're good to go.
Okay.
So it's like this, right? If you have a mob running the bank and the bank continues to run the bank, and they just change things, like change the locks on the door, which is really what happened.
Mm-hmm.
It's still run by the mob.
Okay.
It's still a mob run system. So, I mean, if we look at it from that perspective, can't we come to the same conclusions that we should have been throwing these people? We should have thrown all of them out, right? Handed the election back to the people and say, y'all figure it out. And hand count paper ballots in person, pay your people $100 an hour and move on. Why can't we get to that, Matt? Why is there so much contention? Why have the people not stepped out and said, you know what, this is a rebellion worth fighting. Let's do this. Why?
Why have the people not done that?
Yeah.
It's hard to answer that question. I don't know why the people, I think the people are, generally dissuaded by information they get from the media. The media has largely covered up what happened in 2020.
Well, it's a bully pulpit.
Yeah. So, people know what they know, and there's not that many people who know what we know. But I sent you a link to a tweet I sent out previously. A tweet that got before the 2024 election. So this is something.
I'm sharing it to you guys as here we go. This is new. Go ahead and grab that. Matt, you keep talking about vulnerabilities. I have to, and it drives me nuts. Vernacular drives me as crazy as vernacular drives you.
Mm-hmm.
Yours is that machines. Just stop talking about machines before I punch you right through the screen. Mine is that it's not vulnerable, that the machines are absolutely corrupt to the core, and they are designed. They are literally systems of evil. Can we agree on that? Can you tell me right here that the systems they're irrevocably broken? You cannot, there's no fixing it. There's no patching it. It's not that it's just vulnerable. It's designed to make people slaves. It's team evil. Can we agree on that?
I think I proved that in December 14th of 2020. When I issued a report, I proved years ago in 2020 that the entire system is designed to promote systemic election fraud. There's no question about it.
Okay. So there is no coming back. You cannot redeem these systems. You cannot patch them. You cannot fix them. They all have to go, correct?
Yeah, all of our current systems have to go.
Okay. All right.
I'm not saying that.
So that was a question somebody asked. Like, they asked the question, like, are you saying that we can fix the system if they're vulnerable? And I said, no. And then I basically have all the no's. I went down like 20 times. I said, but I'll ask.
What I'm saying is there could be a company that maybe in the future, if they had good intentions, could design a system that was not susceptible to the tampering that we have right now. Again, look at your iPhone. Why? I mean, this is.
I can break into an iPhone, take me 2 hours. I can break into your iPhone, take me 2 hours. Huh?
Well, I don't know how to do that, but
Yeah.
I know how to do it with our election system, and I'm just who I am. So I don't know. In the sense of, if you're talking about our current system, it's irredeemable. It's broken. It's designed to create systemic election fraud. There's no question about it. There's no way anyone who had any sense of actual election security would hire any of these companies to design a nationwide voting system. It is hot garbage.
Why don't they use those words? Hot garbage. I mean, President Trump has called people some nasty names. He should adopt hot garbage. I mean, I think that he should even like stop after he's said and done hot garbage and hit TM Matt DePerno.
Yeah, right. But so yeah, I am in 100% agreement with you on that. So
yeah.
So the point is, again, we get back to the idea of what we found in Antrim County, what we didn't find, and what I proved is that our system is hot garbage, and that it is susceptible to tampering. There's no question about it. It is
from the inside by domestic terrorists, not by foreign, by domestic, by people that are here. Our vendors are doing this. Our vendors are deeply rooted in ideologies that allow for them to cheat maliciously across the country.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, for sure. But
so then why replace them with vendors? Why replace them with a company? Why can't we just have the people count the vote? Why do we even need a vendor? We don't need a vendor. Why can't we just have, hey, it's really simple. I'm going to have my ballots printed. I'm going to have smaller precincts, 1,500, 2,000 people. I'm going to get to know my neighbors. We're going to come in, kumbaya. They're going to hand me their ID, tell me that they're a citizen. I'm going to high five them on the way out. We're going to count it. Me and Joe Blow and Johnny, because Johnny likes jokes. We like to keep Johnny around. We're going to sit in the room. Johnny's going to tell Johnny jokes, and we're going to count the ballots. And then when we're done counting them, we're going to send them to 3 more people, let them count it while Johnny tells us some more jokes. Maybe tells them some jokes too, but we don't want to mess up their count. So we want Johnny to be a little quiet on the second count, make sure it matches up. And then if it doesn't match up, comes back to us and like, hey, Johnny, shut up for a minute. We need to make sure we can count these. And now we have 3. Boom, boom, boom. You count 2,000 ballots. You make sure you load it up into a system. You have a little sheet that tells you what the results are, and it gets passed on. And then you have Edison that maybe records those results and sends them out to a Team Evil, the mainstream media. What's wrong with that? No vendor required.
Well, no.
Except for Johnny.
You got to have a vendor to print ballots.
Okay. All right. Let's say we print dollar bills. We're not printing very many dollar bills. Why can't we just have them put a marker on the top of the ballot and have our mint use those beautiful machines? Beautiful machines. Have beautiful machines that print our ballots inside of the U.S. Mint. See, I got it solved.
Well, you solved the problem of sure. You got to have people who could count our election system or our education system.
The machines can't count. I mean,
but here we are again. We're focusing on, again. I'm going to direct you away from the idea that machines.
Yeah.
The
people.
The problem is not machines. The problem is the Lazarus Echo. That's where it is. That's the problem. We identified it.
All right.
January 5th, 2021. You and I did. It's your graphic. You put it up, and it holds true today. And this is the kind of stuff that the tweet I just sent you answers the question.
Yeah, let's put it up. Let's put up the tweet. Put it up, please.
This was right before the 2024 election.
After reviewing the qualified voter file, QV. Let's do it in your voice. Actually, I like it better in your voice.
Well, after reviewing the qualified voter file, QVF of votes, this is in Michigan, actually cast as of yesterday, and these are absentee ballots. As of October 29, 2024, the database identifies 114,545 Michigan voters who have cast 279,113 ballots from multiple addresses across the state. This results in 164,568 excess ballots as of October 29, 2024, just days before the election. And then it goes through one voter ID. It says one person, one voter ID.
One voter ID.
One person. It's one voter.
It's one voter. And you're talking about they overcounted them. So
no, these are actual ballots. These are ballots cast.
Yeah.
If you look, it's from different addresses within the state. And then I was community noted on this. 6.4 million views on this. But if you go down further, yeah. That's your problem, Joe, right there.
Go up a little bit. Let's read this real quick. Reader added context. Laura Trump, Republican National Committee co-chair, stated, "We immediately investigated and have confirmed there was a glitch in the system. These duplicates were not and will not be counted. The image lacks the status column that would show the rejections." So let's go up a little bit so I can see the. So who added that?
Well, I was community noted basically by Laura Trump.
Why would she do that?
I don't know. Maybe that answered your question.
How does she know? How does she know? Again, this gets down to pinky swearing, right?
Right.
Show me the information is accurate. We've been able to verify how. How have you been able to verify? Because I can tell you right now, I sat in rooms with people who were really smart, and not even they could understand the system architecture. I would sit and have a conversation. We sat in many rooms on Jan 5th and 6th and 7th where we would verify information, and they would say something, and I was like, that's just silly. That's not true. And these are smart people, right? But
this was real, what I found, what I discovered within the actual system. These were actually ballots cast. There was actually 164,569 excess ballots in the system, counted. And you know what happens to a ballot once it's in the system, right? You can't dig it out. But this actually happened, and that's our problem, is that we're not on the same page, Joe, in terms of who knows how the system architecture works.
No, they're the smartest people in the room. They're completely unaffected, and they're on the. I mean, what does Laura Trump know about anything having to do with the system? She wouldn't know what a line of code. She wouldn't know what JSON data is. She wouldn't have any clue what a qualified voter record would be. Right? It would never even happen. It wouldn't. These people are making decisions, and somebody's walking up to them saying, "Dolphins speak, dolphins speak, dolphins speak," and they're like, "Tell me what that means." Well, it means everything's fine. Everything's good. We're not counting the ballots. Okay, good. Thank you. Give me a high five. And then they walk away. That's in essence what you're saying, right?
That's what happened. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you get community noted by someone that says, "I've got it all figured out."
Yeah. And then you want to talk about down ballot races in Michigan, where every Republican basically lost. And they lost because of this system. This is the Lazarus Echo system that's in place, that will be in place November of this year. To get to your point, Joe, you and I aren't in the room, are we?
We're not in the room because we would wreck it, Ralph. You put me in a room. Every room that you have put me, every room that I have ever been in has resulted in someone being smarter, because I'm like, yeah, that's not how it happened. And then I'm like, ask him this question. Ask him this question. Because our brains work in such a way that we have enough information that we're like, no, that doesn't check, actually. Let's go back and look at how the system is actually run, or how it could run, and where the vulnerabilities could be. Because then that typically then an audit will uncover that. If you start looking at stored procedures, which is what Mark Cook is really good at, or you start looking at rootkits, ways that you can actually have degraded or diminished code that activates, pulls in databases, which is what you're talking about now, by the way. Those are stored procedures to bring in databases that we would find. Mason County, we found those, where you had separate databases of people, and then you just put substitute spaces, and then put it in there, and then they all voted for the people that you want, and you can put any address in there you want because nobody's going to be able to see it or understand what it is until you start digging into it. So in large part, they can't afford to have someone like you or someone like me sitting in a room. They can't afford it because it would wreck it, Ralph. They wouldn't be able to continue.
So that's, that's what I think in terms of where we sit today. So I don't know where we go from here, but.
All right. So we went from Smartmatic to Sequoia to Dominion to now Liberty, right? And they keep going down, and we keep passing the baton to a new vendor, right? That is subverting the voice of the American people. And by the way, if you say anything about them, they'll just sue you and use lawfare, and they'll sue you for defamation. And when you attach any individual like Coomer, I mean, what do you think of Coomer, by the way? What do you think of this guy?
No, I've never met him. I've only met his attorneys. They sent me a subpoena once.
Yeah. And then they didn't go through with it, which is weird.
Right. Yeah. They wanted a whole bunch of information. Well, I had said I was going to file a lawsuit in federal court to quash their subpoena, but they never pursued it after that. So I don't, I never met, I'm not in a room with them. I've never met him, but I've only met his, or talked to his attorneys.
Come on, man. You've seen the same data I've seen, Eric, and you don't have to say anything disparaging about his character other than he's a Satanist and he's a drug addict. And frankly, he's a really bad guy.
I don't know about it. All I can speak to the idea of, I've seen data. I know how the system works. I know how it's corrupted. I know how the Democrats cheat in elections.
Yeah. And Republicans. And come on, man. Republicans do the same thing. Team evil is not just on one side of the football field. We got team evil stabbing us like Brutus and Judas, right?
Well, that's probably why there's never anything done about election fraud, right?
Okay. So if you were in the DOJ today, you ran the DOJ, we put you in the seat, you're like, boom, who would you wreck it, Ralph? Who are you going after first? Who are you arresting first?
Well, I don't know who I'm arresting first. I know I'm investigating, and I'm investigating the state of Michigan.
Okay.
I mean, there's no question, because I know too much about what happens in the state of Michigan.
But they went after you unlawfully, committed a crime. So you're the attorney general.
They made up a crime. They manufactured a crime,
which is a crime.
Yeah.
Right. It's a federal crime, actually. That if you want to just talk about the Constitution, you're not allowed to individually persecute or use the law as a beating stick for personal gain, and they did that. That's conspiracy, right?
Yeah. Vindictive.
So Dana Nessel, she's getting the hammer.
Definitely we're looking at what she did and her actions, not only prior to the 2020 election, but her actions regarding States Democracy Center, the $3.5 million that was used to go after people through lawfare. And the idea of putting people on a list of who they were targeting, and those people they were targeting were people who were bringing to the light the actual crimes that had been committed.
And this is why, by the way, what you're saying is why it's so hard, right? I actually have a list. I'm checking it twice. Going to find out who's naughty or nice. I'm going to just let down the hammer, man. I'm going to the hammer wagon. If I was the AG, it'd be a big list. And I would start with people in positions of power and authority. I would go after the people inside of Dominion voting systems. I would charge every single one of them with a crime, every single one of them for subverting the voice of the American people. I would then start arresting other people, and I would just literally it would be Wreck-It Ralph time. I would wreck it Ralph, and I would do it that quickly. And we know that there are judges that are involved that have circumvented things, so I put them on notice that they would be charged with a crime for conspiracy because they're conspiring with other people in order to block access to different systems. And I'm not a lawyer, but I have Grok and I have ChatGPT and I've got LexisNexis and I've asked lots of questions of these systems and I've read a lot of case law. And I promise you, I would find a way to put every one of these little silly you-know-whats in a competent jurisdiction that is not controlled by wicked judges. And then I would go after the judges, and I would literally just start filing lawsuits against judges, and I would file the judge that went after President Trump, and I would find a way to turn over you know what I would do to him? What did they do to Al Capone? I would find a way to Al Capone every crooked judge in the country. I would find a way, man. I would 15, what is it? Is it a 1512 charge? The Enron charge they gave to me?
I think anyone who would ever want to be in those positions wouldn't want to necessarily talk about what they're going to do prior to getting there.
I'm talking about it. I mean, there's a 0 chance I'd be Attorney General, but I could do something different. I could go right above that.
There you go.
Right, I could run for president in 2028.
Yeah.
It's going to take a Julius Caesar moment to get us to a place where we can save our country. It's going to take bold moves, and it's going to take a whole lot of courage and probably a sacrifice of life. President Trump has proven that. And I believe in July of 2025, things drastically changed. President Trump was getting way too much done. And I saw this kind of change. There's just something happened in July of 2025. I can't put my finger on it, but I do see it. And, you know, here's a man that's been fighting for 6 years. Sometimes you put up against the wall. You got to take a break. I'm praying that that's what it was. But we're in 2026 now, and all the chips are on the table. And what can be stolen for one group can be stolen for another. We could be seeing the same thing happen inside the Republican Party, where they're pretty sure of themselves. They're going to win the House and win the Senate. They're sure of it. So there could be negotiating happening behind Team Evil's deal, where they're like, let's make the Republicans win again. Now, while they're doing it, they're stealing down ballots. Nobody's talking about it, right? But there's a high probability that we're dealing with kabuki theater at every level, and they all know. It's like knowing that there's aliens. Like, we all know. You don't have to hide it from us anymore. We got it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what they're dealing with, and I'm not part of any of those behind-the-scenes discussions about anything like that. I just know how the system works. I've proved how the system works.
So, what message, and a parting message, what would you want? What would you want people to hear, right? What would you want people to, hopeful? Or,
I think if we're going to solve the problem, the people who know how the system works need to be cooperating, and the people who, are out there, as I'd say, the fundraisers. There's different categories of people. Let's put it this way. So people who concentrate on fundraising. That's what they use election integrity for. There's the experts, right? There's people who actually know what's going on. There's certain people who are influencers within the arena. Then there's the credit takers. Gotta love them.
There's a lot of those.
And there's the conspiracy entrepreneurs. And the problem is separating those people, separating the chaff from the wheat, as they say. If we're not willing to call out those people who are the credit takers and the conspiracy entrepreneurs and those people, we're never going to solve the problem, because keeping the system the way it is actually makes people money.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that it's made me any money. It's cost me quite a bit. And I truly believe that we're in a season right now where we're starting to see it very clearly. I have no patience for people the days of the Jovan Pulitzers of the world are over, in my view. Right? I think that enough people they're done with circus acts. And but at the same time, I see this. I don't want to give people hope either. I think there's only hope in one entity, and that is in Jesus Christ. And I think that if you give your life to the Lord, then a lot of things become easier to tolerate, but also the fight becomes more palatable as well. I mean, you're built for it, right? The sacrifice you're going to have to take. But But I think that there is a certain amount of there is a way out. And it starts with free and fair elections. And the only way you get there is to get rid of the things, chess pieces on the table that have enabled these people to take from us over and over and over again and treat us like institutional slaves. That's my thought. That's my thought.
Sure, but it's not that hard to solve if certain people stop taking oxygen out of the room, talking about things that are irrelevant or don't matter, but only talking about things that help raise them money. Got to get past that. Until we do, we're going to be in the same place.
Yeah. Well, I think that we have to get people in the room together that are willing to set aside petty differences or even bigger differences in order to use their expertise and use their superpowers to save what is definitely needed to be saved. And I truly believe, Matt, that God's really going for that. I mean, it's no secret. I mean, I sent you money for your defense, right? And when I sent you money, did they not try to stop me from sending you money?
Well, it took a while to get it. That's for sure. Yeah.
And we would send it to the bank, and the bank's like, "Yeah, we can't send it." So I go to another account. I sent the bank. I'm like, "Matt, did you get it?" You're like, "No, I didn't get it." And I'm like, "Matt, we sent the money," and it wasn't a small amount of money. It was a bigger amount of money, but it was, the reality of it is they try to do everything they can to create distrust, right? That's and it's institutional. Would you agree? It's institutional of creating this distrust.
Yeah, I think for sure. I was debanked.
So I really want to get to a place where we can sit in the same room and use our superpowers. And I think there's quite a few. And I agree with you that a lot of people want to take credit for a lot of things. I'm just not sure that it's as malicious as we think it is. I think it's just a legacy piece for why people are willing to give up and sacrifice much of their life. You've sacrificed a bunch of your life, and you've also stepped back into the shadows and been like, I just don't want any part of it anymore. Right. At the same time, you still have so much to offer and so much to give because you are at the tip of the spear. And so I want to encourage you on my side that I think you should stay a part of the process. I think that there's some relationship mending that I think should happen. And I know that you have no tolerance for it because I have less tolerance than you. But I also believe that you're a forgiving man. You're a man that has done an immense amount of good, not just in the 6 years, but I met your wife. I sat at your kitchen table, right? I truly believe that you are one of the most honorable men out there. And yet the amount of pain that you've gone through, the amount of betrayal that you've faced, I think that would turn any man south, right? And I know it's turned me that several times. So that's my bit of encouragement to you. I love you. I think you're amazing. I've always thought you're amazing. And I haven't always agreed with you. But I've always been on team Matt's place.
All right. Well, we met January 5th. We weren't downtown, just so everyone's clear. We weren't down at the Capitol.
We were not doing any. We were not going into the Capitol. We were at the State Department when all that stuff was going on.
Yeah, and when we left, that's when we realized, because we had no communication inside. We realized Olympus was on fire at that point.
Yeah.
I got taken from the State Department in a car to the bridge across to Virginia, and I got dropped there. Not across the bridge, on the Washington, D.C. side of the bridge, and had to walk across the bridge to get to my hotel. But they just dumped me. Like, here you go. Good luck.
Who dumped you?
I don't remember. It was some driver that came around in a car.
I think there was a fear. Everyone at that point it became the media set into the frenzy. The sky is falling. The sky is falling. The sky is falling.
Yeah.
So, all right, brother. I appreciate you very much. There's no words for the gratitude that I have for the relationship that we have. And I've had conversations with people that you're on opposite sides with. I've told them the same thing. I was like, listen, Matt's a really good dude, and you got to figure out a way to reconcile. So same thing I tell you, I tell them to get into a place where you guys can have that we can use these superpowers. And I think that's what they're afraid of. They're afraid of those superpowers coming together and really just Wreck-It Ralph. And I think we should walk into President Trump's office like we're Conor McGregor and without the broken leg, and really just kind of show off what we can do.
Yeah. Well, if that time comes, let me know.
Hey, it might happen.
All right, anytime. Have me back on.
I would definitely have you back on. There's more questions to be, the more things to work. Let's say that. All right.
All right. We'll see you.
God bless you, brother.
Yep. God bless you. Bye.
Yeah. So Charlie says, Jovan is why I quit watching Cowboy Logic years ago. I don't even give him any space. Jovan's a creep. Man, you guys have got it. Grifters need to stay sucking people dry. Gammy always gets it going for us. So Jeff goes, DePerno certainly doesn't speak as quick as Kyle Seraphin. Gosh, as informative as it's been ponderously slow. Listen, I want to explain something to you. Not everyone is as fast as we are. And when you're going through the process, there are questions to be asked and there'd be answers to be given. And I want to take you back to that moment that I made a decision in November. Don't feel bad for me. I don't feel bad for me. We all made decisions to get into this fight. And there was a mulling, there was a heating up that happened that we started recognizing there's this justice meter that goes off in people, most good people. But it all started the same way for Matt. He was giving advice on COVID. He was involved in it. And then all of a sudden they're like, well, he obviously is very talented. He has a lot of ability, but he loves two things. He loves his country and he could see the injustice, and he loves the people in his country. And so he was willing to put up the sacrifices. I was willing to do the same thing. And in large part, I think that's why we have you can trace back the committed relationships and the people that are involved in this, and you'll find a large degree of loyalty and that fealty to President Trump, and obviously protecting him. I do wish that there was more recognition that would be given to the people that have stayed consistent in all of this, but we also recognize that everything happens in good time. So we'll do that. I'm going to go through a few other things before I sign off here in a moment. Matt put up a deal on July 23rd, and this has to do with the software glitch problem. So I just want to put this out there because Matt just pointed it out. It says they're doing the software glitch and human error narrative again, and it had to do with John Solomon. Obviously, I've made my statement clear on John Solomon. And look, you don't have to like my opinion. You can think John Solomon is the salt of the earth guy. I don't. I sat in the room with him in 2023 at a Miles Guo deal. And now that I look back at that, I find that, Steve Bannon, Solomon, the John Solomon were there. Two guys that, frankly, I'm not a Bannon fan either. I'm not a fan of anybody that thinks that they can walk around. Look, I'm not a fan of, there's so many people that have taken money from me, stolen from me, lied about me. I could make a list. It's a long list, and they're not people on the left. All right, these are people that say that they're here to help. You could talk about the Sharona Bishops that did nothing but lie through her freaking ugly ass face. Yeah, I can't stand these people. I can't stand these people. And they are institutionally, academically, and otherwise dishonest to the core. Now they get up and act like they're the Julie Kellys of the world. Another person that frankly gets out and says J6, J6, J6. But look at the fruit of the person and who propped them up. All you have to do is just go through the lineage and go back in time, and you will trace them back to the same rotted individuals that we find disgustingly, obviously betrayers of the people at nearly every turn. Bannon traces back to Epstein. Sharona Bishop traces back to Lauren Boebert, thrown off the island. She traces back to Tina Peters, set her up completely. Traces back to other people that I'm going to remain nameless right now because I'm getting ready to drop a massive bit of a fun circus on someone that happens to be running for governor. Yeah, the system is filled with filthy people who have never done anything in their life. Not hunters. They're thieves, grifters. All right. Let's talk about something that's not related to that. Let's talk about the well, it's Friday. It's already 5:09. But I want to point out some things really quickly, and we're going to run through this quickly. One, here's Bill Maher talking about the Democratic communists. He thinks that Democrat communists have taken over our country because they're a majority. And that's what I find most disturbing about this is that these retards, he's a retard too, okay, is they can point out Captain Obvious, but they can't get to the core of it. They can't get to the foundation of why it's happening because they're so self-consumed that they can't see the problem that many of us that have been working on it can see very clearly. You want free and fair elections, that will actually get rid of the communists. They'll be gone in a minute. Because nobody in the right mind wants that. It's led to no opportunity for anyone. Even the communists don't want communism. Play it.
Let me tell you about the story that liberal algorithms locked out. Her name is Sia Weaver. And if you ask anyone in the blue sky bubble who that is, they'll look at you like a turkey looking up at the rain. But she's kind of important in New York, being Major Mamdani's chief of the Office to Protect Tenants. And since Mamdani's big issue is the rent's too damn high, yes, he stole this guy's act. It's a very key appointment in the most important city in the country, which is also our financial center. It matters that the mayor stands by, and so I assume stands with, someone who says things like, if you don't believe in the government's sacred right to seize private property, it's over. Seize private property. Home ownership is racist. Elect more communists. Private property, especially home ownership, is a weapon of white supremacy. Really? Even among the 20 million black Americans who own their own home? But these are statements made as an adult. Yes, for co-eds from elite private colleges, you're only a lesbian until graduation, but the communism lasts a lifetime. Democrats seem to be having this debate whether or not Mayor Mamdani is a socialist or a democratic socialist. Let me settle it. He's a straight-up communist. How do I know this? Well, I'm reading between the lines when one of his major advisors says, elect more communists.
Elect more communists. Elect more communists. I'm not sure he understands how it works, though. He's taking bites at the Communist Party as if it is just grown to this behemoth over 2020 and that people just all of a sudden are flocking to it. It's not true. Stealing of elections down ballots, stealing of elections in every election across the country, putting in ranked choice voting, making it more impossible to see to the bottom of the barrel, making it so gray, so completely and utterly untransparent that you have nothing but trust us, bro, to go on. And what makes matters worse is that the mainstream media decided not to broadcast President Trump getting on his address last Thursday, and yet we did nothing about it. We acted as if that's normal. It's normal. It's not normal. It's not normal that you have people that are in positions of power and authority all over the world that are dictating to the American people what you can and cannot have, what opportunities you can and cannot have available, what kind of education you're allowed to have, what you're allowed to do inside of schools. See, at a very, very, very basic level, they are instituting their 95% rate of extinction on the American people. And they're doing it in such a way that you can't even see it unless you're smart. Problem is most people don't understand by allowing their kids to go into this environment and feed and learn in shark infested waters. There's a large majority of them that won't make it out alive. And of course, you have the other side that's going to say that if you don't adhere to our gender philosophy, if you don't adhere to the fact that global warming will take away your ability to be a parent, more importantly, will do things to your child. And then we will make it impossible for you to do something to defend them. And while many parents are out there talking about the fact that they will stand up and they will protect their children at all costs, It's always at all costs, but at all costs, but don't shame me in the public eye. At all costs, but don't send CPS in to take my child from me so that I look like I did something wrong. At all costs, but an actual fight that might cost you something. That's the problem, is that at all costs means I have a limit and it doesn't end with my life. I had somebody send me a death threat just a few days ago, and they said, "We're coming for your family." To which I responded, "Come for my family, and I will come for every part of your family, and I will start all the way at the top, and I will take out every person in your family." That's how I ended the conversation, and then I wanted to make sure that they read it. Because I don't have that gene in me to forgive someone if they do something to my family. And I am willing to give up everything to protect my family and even my community, even my country. I've already made the decision that my life is nearly half over anyway. Making sure that I'm willing to protect my wife and my children and my children's children and the next generation means too much to me. I've had too good of a life. I've lived 100 lives in just my period of time. It's had fantastic things that I've been able to accomplish, and even the experiences I can't even quantify. I've already done a lot, but I always feel like I've lived multiple lives. I feel okay with whatever the outcome is. I think that's what scares them. I just want to Wreck-It Ralph. I just want to fix things. I just want to make it better. I want my legacy to be about that. And if it ends tomorrow, it's okay. I want to show you this is what is happening in our country while we start to say that we have laws and rules and we're not living in a lawless society, but we really are. And it really leans into what you're willing to give up. And I don't think we're willing to give up enough. Most people just want to have life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, but they can feel this pressure of that's just not possible, given the fact that we don't have representative government at any level, and where taxes are getting higher and the regulations are getting more strenuous, and the lack of ability to protect the basic rights under the Constitution has become almost non-existent because our judiciary is so rotted to the core that they can do whatever they want. And when we lean into certain people like the 9 people on the Supreme Court and act as if they are the supreme beings, reality is simple. They are just as flawed and just as corruptible as any other man or woman in the world. When the pressure is put on, they already proved in 2020 what kind of people they were. And more importantly, they proved how they could justify not applying the law to the very thing that should be most sacred to us, and that is protecting the ethos of our country. It is going to get hot because we don't have a choice. Because the people in these positions of power have already decided that they can take from us what was never theirs to take. And as we go into this weekend, I want you to remember, just because you can go to Elitch's, just because you can go to Six Flags, just because you can go to SeaWorld, just because you can go on vacation, does not make you free. And as you pass by every camera that takes your picture and catalogs it, that this is what you did and this is where you went. As you get online and all of your information is stored and every comment is meant to be forever. As you go on chat groups and listen to bots try to talk to you and are mean to you, but really you try to argue with someone like that and it's futile. But as you walk by your neighbor and never have a conversation, while you do things and you worry about the one thing that you should never worry about, and that is that if I speak, is there a consequence to me saying something that maybe someone doesn't like? Then you are a slave. You are not a free man. You are not a free woman. Your children are being taught to be less free than you. And yet there are people all over the world that have seen this play out before, that have warned us. And yet we have no courage and we have no ability to fight back because we're so afraid that we will lose that comfort. We're so weak that we're afraid that we may be called out. It's a problem. So here's a court that ruled against an educator in Oregon who got fired for refuse to put away books affirming traditional 2 genders to the children. Got fired for it. Now, you normally in a court that this would be his right to do this. Play it.
State of Oregon, fired for refusing to put away books affirming traditional gender identities. Out of LA, William Lajeunesse runs down this story. And what have we learned, William? Hello.
Hey, Bill, the question now is how is this ruling going to be applied around the country, given how politically correct some schools and teachers are? So the case here was, could a teacher display a book whose title some found offensive? The Ninth Circuit said no. A school counselor did not have a First Amendment right to feature these gender-themed books. He is he, she is she, and Johnny is a walrus about a boy confused about his gender identity. So here's what happened. After a colleague complained, the district said Rod Tice could keep the books in his office provided children could not see or read them.
Only a single offended teacher criticized the religious viewpoints of he is he and she is she, and later coordinated a setup to have Rod further disciplined.
The setup, a hostile teacher sent in several 8th graders into his office. He allowed them to read the books. It was recorded and the video turned over to the district, which terminated the counselor. He appealed, claiming a First Amendment right to display the materials. 2-1, the court said no.
If it's during school hours and it's during instruction of children or working with children, then the district can decide what is being said and what's not being said.
Yes.
No, correct. And that's the bottom line.
Now, the dissenting judge called out a double standard. Other teachers hung pride flags, Black Lives Matter posters, and displayed LGBTQ literature, but no books on traditional gender identity.
Rod Tice was fired from his job, literally fired for expressing biological facts. And when I say expressing, by displaying a book behind him, he wasn't reading it to students. He wasn't compelling anybody to read them. It was just the covers, apparently, that were so offensive.
So the two judges favoring the district were appointed by Presidents Obama and Biden. The dissenting judge came up, or dissenting opinion rather, Bill, came from a judge appointed by President Trump.
Okay, all right. I'm glad you're on it, William. Thank you.
The fact that those people on the air were not more upset about this and didn't look at it from the standard of we're in a fallen world. It's evil. And I want to go back to this if we can. Go all the way to the top. I want to play this Sean Ryan and Tucker discussing evil and the Bible being the truth. I mean, they keep coming out after Tucker Carlson. I'm going to tell you right now, Tucker Carlson's a very good man. He gave it all up to tell the truth. Play it.
Everything is a lie. Everything you fucking know is a lie. Everything you think you know, everything in the history books, it's all fucking lies.
If there are supernatural forces that are evil, acting on people, which there are, and I've experienced them personally, then that's proof of God.
It's not faith to me anymore. It's fact. It is 100% fact.
So when you look ahead, you became one of the most successful people in this business, amazingly.
The Sean Ryan Show is the #1 podcast in the world as of October 2nd, 2024. So there's only one truth. I'm just not really interested in anything else anymore because it's all garbage. It's that, black book right behind you, the Holy Bible.
That's the one truth.
That's it.
Did you know that there were supernatural forces, demons that could act on people? Did you grow up knowing that? Did you think about that?
I definitely didn't grow up knowing that.
Your wife said that God is always talking to you, but you don't hear it because you're distracted. Do you think that's true?
Yeah. Then I let all the praise and all that get to me.
The idea that you know stuff that civilians don't know, that's a kind of arrogance and lie.
Yeah. And then I think it happened again. I got too wrapped up in it.
Sean Ryan's a good man. He takes things very slowly. I do want to say this, that I want to give myself. I got a call last week and they said, Joe, do me a favor, if you would, can you come on and tell us how you've been able to break the censorship? And part of it is I asked you guys to do the sharing for me. But the other part is that no matter what they do, they can't seem to shut off all the valves that we create. And so we have created all these different opportunities for us to share, and YouTube's been probably the most difficult because we can't get anybody. It's basically we're shadow banned across all of Google, all of Facebook, and yet I continue to just keep punching down. They're like, "Well, this guy go away. How is he making money?" And he's not pushing any advertisers, and why does he show up every day? And it's because I'm able to realize that you can't hold the message down if I put it in all these different places. Sooner or later, maybe you will, but there's enough people that are seeking out the information that I'm putting out there that it becomes very difficult. Anyway, we moved up in the ranks, and just to give you an idea of the audience, and I want to say thank you to you. 97.84% of the listeners that we have for this podcast are in the United States. We're in the top 0.1% of podcasts globally. And just to tell you how significant that is, our listen score is a 60, and which is really high. I mean, if you put it up against anyone else that are in those environments, the listen score at 60 is obviously I want it to be higher, and eventually it will be higher. But it's significant. That's a significant number. And so, I'm hoping that I can move it up even further, depending on how long I decide I want to do this podcast. But I want to point out that the amount of evil that's out there that doesn't want me to speak, that doesn't want truth to get out there, and the amount of slander and defamation that I've had to deal with from the mainstream media to people that say they're on our side, down to, look, I had Lara Logan on. Somebody called and told her Joe's a really bad man. So I want to be really clear. If you can find out why I'm so bad, you could tell me why I'm so bad. I've given over $10 million, and during that time, still donated money to other people. I have been called by really shit people that I'm a bad guy, and I will tell you that I don't cheat on my wife. I don't gamble. I quit drinking. I don't watch porn. I can go down the line of all the things I don't do. I don't do drugs. What else? Is there anything else that I would do? I don't piddle children. I want to crush their face. Yeah, I'm semi-violent. Semi meaning I'm not violent per se, but I'm not afraid of it. I don't mind the fight. And maybe I get angry some. So maybe that's I'm just trying to figure out what my bad habit is. Golf. I say this because so often we find ourselves judging other people. And I only bring that up because of Matt DePerno. We judge other people. We judge people like Stephanie Lambert. We judge people like, David Clements. You let really bad people in the media, leftist trash, truly trashy people, truly because they smile and they just do this and try to create some sort of decorum around themselves that they hold themselves to a high esteem. Behind the scene, they're doing awful things to our children, to our communities, to our country. And I think that's my biggest problem with John Thune and many people like Mitch McConnell. The guy's a walking corpse. Or we can talk about Lindsey Graham, who's now dead. Right? You have people on our side that have betrayed us over and over again, and now now they're good people, right? Or 39 days Mitch McConnell has been out of the air, and nobody says anything about it. It's like it doesn't exist. Like, well, we can't say anything about Mitch McConnell. Yeah, he's dead. He's brain dead, guys. He doesn't exist. They're going to wait till after, August 3rd. They don't have to have a special election, and then they'll sunset him. Man, it just upsets me. And that leads me to this. So we talked about the fact that you can't actually show books that are absolutely 100% right on, and a rotted judiciary appointed by rotted presidents. So let's play this. This is a Democrat mayor and vice mayor of Sacramento, California. We're caught on a hot mic. Play it. Have the volume up.
We should go over this disruptions thing, because if we want to ban somebody in the future, like actually take them out, you have to point out and specifically say who's being banned.
We can't do that.
We did it last time.
can't. And so I spent my first 6 months going into this. I wanted to give people like probation, like you can't come.
Did you miss that? Go back and watch it again. Caught on a hot mic. Knew he was caught on a hot mic, and they knew what they were doing was wrong because they stopped. The one didn't want the public to hear it. The party of inclusion, right? And have you heard about the case of Shiloh Hendrick? The judiciary is beyond corrupt, beyond. Now, she was using the N-word in reference to a child and a man at a park in Minnesota. Let's go ahead and play it. This is the park video.
Did you call him a child?
The fuck you talking
Did you
about?
call the child the nigger word?
None of your fucking business.
It is my own business. You call him a nigger? Okay, why don't you have the balls to say it right now again?
Fuck you, nigger.
Okay.
Nigger.
All right, that's what you say.
You don't go digging through people's shit, you dumb fuck.
Nobody digging into your shit.
A little fucking kid just did, you dumbass.
That little kid, you call him a nigger?
Yeah.
The little child?
What if he acts like one, he's gonna do.
Are you about to hit him? You chase him here?
He took my son's stuff.
So that gives you the right to call the child, 5-year-old, a nigger N-word.
If that's what he's gonna act
That's
like.
what you're gonna call him.
That's what he's gonna act like.
You know, that's a hate speech. And you can be recorded for that.
I don't give a shit.
Huh.
Fuck off.
Okay, we'll see about that, what the internet has to say about you.
I don't agree with what she said. I don't agree with what she said at all. I don't agree with ever calling a child or at any point that the N-word. And by the way, I've lived in a family where I've had to deal with my siblings being called the N-word. I've had to deal with, being called a niglet, right? Or a half-breed or a reverse Oreo. I mean, I could go through all the names that I've been called that made me want to fight more, that built up this thing inside of me that's like, nah, you want to come for me? Come for me. I don't agree with it. But this is the man who was filming, by the way. He's a illegal. And he was previously charged with raping a 16-year-old girl. Now, I want to show you this post. This is Shiloh Hendrick using words protected by the First Amendment. Gets more jail time than invaders raping children. Ready? This is in the United States of America. This is in the judiciary that you can't dishonor, that you can't deflock the black robe. Fuck these judges. You let a 16-year-old get raped, and she says a word to a bunch of illegals. So let's go through it. Shiloh Hendricks charged faces 270 days in jail for using N-word at Rochester Playground. They had to hunt her down to charge her with disorderly conduct. After the fact, she was gone. Rochester man gets 180 days in jail for raping 2 girls under the age of 9. Rochester man gets 180 days in jail for raping 2 girls under the age of 9. So this is the penalty and conviction. Conviction found guilty of 1 count of misdemeanor disorderly conduct. The jury acquitted her on the 2nd count of disorderly conduct involving the child and found her guilty regarding her confrontation with a black man recorded in the incident. Sentence, $1,000 fine, community service, 200 hours of community service, jail time, 90 days suspended, meaning no immediate jail time, provided she abides by standard probation terms. She protects her child. I don't agree with what she said, but it is covered by the First Amendment. You have a First Amendment right. And the judges literally put another millstone on the chest of an American in favor of an illegal, a foreigner. I don't care, black, white, green, a foreigner who raped a 16-year-old child. She gets charged, doesn't. But we have our First Amendment right. Do we have our Second Amendment right? Oh, no. Yeah, we say it all the time. That's illegal. You can't do it. And then they do it. And then we're surprised that they do it. They don't give a shit about the law. These judges don't care. They don't care. They're above the law. They're ideologically bent to destroy people. Look what they did to the J6ers. 1512 law was found to be unconstitutional by the Supreme Court. You know what they did? They kept every single one of them in jail indefinitely at times until President Trump came in, even though they were found that their case against them, or they recharged them with other crimes just to make sure they could keep them in jail, and then put them on a no bond so they could keep them in jail. This is the American system where you can have people like Eric Coomer, Satanist guys that do awful things to people. You can use lawfare to stop the truth from coming out. You can have social platforms that can censor and do what they've done. To not just me, but lots of people. And then you have company or somebody from a company that calls me and says, we want to know how you got past it, Joe. How? And I was like, why would I give you my secrets? This is what we deal with. This is what we deal with. You don't have a First Amendment right. You don't have a Second Amendment right. States can treat you as an institutional slave. They can put flock cameras on every corner, come to you and say, we know who you are. They use people that have immunity to act with impunity. And we just sit back and we take it. Remember, we had a rebellion over a two pence tax on tea. And here we are being treated like slaves, and we sit here, we take it. And we watch as the retarded in government, freaking retarded people, tell us that we get to tell you, sit down, slave. Trust us, bro. Here's the system, and here's the vendors, and here's hundreds of millions of dollars, and here's private equity getting in the middle of it, and here's Soros. And we can watch as people do harm to our communities and to our country. And we watch it just wither away. Hoping we can just hold on to something, just something in the middle. Well, these pieces of trash, these evil, evil people take from us the very essence of who we are as Americans. Yeah, I think the time's up. And here's Shiloh's lawyer talking about the judge in this case. Play it.
So we're going to appeal it. We will appeal it. We have so many appellate issues, I don't even know where to begin. Judges screaming at me during the trial. Judges interrupting me every time I want to make a record. Judge says to me, Mr. Corrales, you keep wanting to make a record after I ruled. This is crazy. Most rulings during a trial by a judge are made during the trial. And then when you take a break, you make a record, right? You take a break, you make a record. I kept asking. If you're in there and you watch the trial, I kept asking, I need to make a record. I need to make a record. She'd get upset, run in the back. Get upset, run in the back. Your Honor, I need to make a record. It started piling up. All these objections started piling up. Your Honor, I need to make a record. I need to make a record. She'd run in the back. I'm like, Judge, we got to make a record. This is insane. This isn't law. This is a circus. This is monkey court. This is nuts.
Monkey court. This is nuts. By the way, guys, get me that lawyer. I want him on. This is a lawyer. The same monkey court that we had in Denver with Marie Avery Moses and Antifa marched, put a sign up, said she'd burn down the country if the creep that died up in Minnesota was her kid. These are disgusting, treasonous traitors that we have inside these black robes. Tell us that they can take from us whatever they want. And I keep looking for a good judge to do the right thing. And I haven't found one yet. Haven't found one yet. Not in Colorado, not in Minnesota. He's like, this is crazy. This isn't a real courtroom. And by the way, he can get in trouble for what he said. They're going to go after him. So make sure we have that judge on, okay? Or that attorney on. I want to have him on. Find him. Reach out to him. I want to have him on. This is as disgusting as you can see. Now, I want to point something else out. They tried to keep the judge's name out of the record. Try to keep it out of the record. Imagine being a judge and you get to hide. You get to hide. You don't have to like what she said. I don't like what she said. But you know what? It's the same as somebody calling me a cracker. Same as somebody calling me a reverse Oreo. Same as somebody used to, I mean, the comments that used to say, hey, you're Joe, you're a little light skinned to be picking cotton. I used to get it all. You know what most of them were from? Most of them were from the Democrat side. Most of them. I'm disgusted by what our country has become because we've let it happen. That judge should have been run out, but that judge has immunity in a place that's been captured by fake, fraudulent elections. That's why those pieces of trash are on there. Strip away the immunity, get rid of the judges, and make sure we can get our country back, or we're heading towards a war. And by the way, my war is not with my Democrat neighbor. My war is with the people that are in office that have done horrible things, unspeakable things to the American people. That's the reality. And I'm not the only one that thinks this. Most people think this. All right, let's pray it out. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, tune in and more. We've gone for 2.5 hours, the longest we've gone in a long time. Had a lot to say. Make sure that you share. You're the ones that actually dictate. This is a little bit of a long show. Yeah. Whew. 90 days for a misdemeanor count, but let out rapists or felony counts after 100 days. And by the way, that was illegal that they let out. Just want to point that out. And don't talk about my black brothers and sisters that are Americans, because they're actually left. They get stepped over too. Yeah, you want to know where the animals come from? You want to know why crime's down? It's not because Kash Patel is anything other than just a Kardashian. It's because ICE came in and got rid of a lot of criminals and drew it under the ground. They're like, man, I don't want to commit a crime because I'll get thrown out of the country. Other than that, we're dealing with just, that's why crime's down. That's why crime's down. Let me see. Correlation, causation. It works. Susan Rice, it's good to see you. The good Susan Rice. It's really good to see you. I asked for one thing. I asked for you to share. I should have 300 shares, 500 shares, 800 shares, depending on which station you're on. Roku, it looks like we've grown. It's a pretty large group of people. It looks like there's a little over 3,400 people on Roku. That's good. All right. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, tune into more, Roku, Amazon, all the different channels, Facebook. I haven't figured out how to do Instagram yet, but we will. We got a bunch of other places that will be, but you are the ambassadors of truth. You're the ones that share, right? If you had a problem with Honor Bound, I found a glitch where we had a couple of orders that went through for hats and for sweatshirts, like the one that I'm wearing. If you have a problem, please reach out to me. Make sure you reach out to me, joe@untamednation.com. I want to make sure I get it taken care of. I definitely don't want to make it so that you don't get taken care of. So please do not say, oh, I just chalk it up or just support. I don't want that at all, right? I want to be able to make sure that we honor it. So we found a glitch. We solved it, sent out a bunch of stuff today. Please be aware that we want to fix those problems. All right, let's pray. Father God, we see the injustice. We see the evil. And it's not just everyone's starting to see it all at the same time. I'm so encouraged by Dan Holloway and the fact that you reached out and you found Dan. And some of the comments that he said today were just unbelievable. It made me smile first thing in the morning. I hear Sean Ryan. I hear Tucker Carlson speaking about God in such a way that we can follow him. We can follow the words that you have put together with all of these different people in these great books. That is a roadmap for us to live a righteous life. And we know, Father, that we live in a fallen world, and yet we want to restore it. We desperately want to push us to a place where we can have peace inside of our communities and our country and around the world. And we recognize that that's going to take an immense amount of courage. So, Father, I just ask you to give us the courage, give us the wisdom to be able to migrate, to navigate these things, but also just give us the courage to be able to speak truth and to be able to share that truth and to not be afraid of what the consequences will be if we do share it. Help us, Father, to set aside petty differences. I ask you to put a blessing over Matt DePerno, bless him with the ability to forgive. It's one of the most difficult things for me. And I know it's difficult for him. I ask you, Father, to be able to draw him into a group and that we can create a group of people that can really seek to change the direction of our country for the good and eliminate this evil, eliminate these people that wearing black robes that have done horrible things to our communities and to our country. Father, we know that we are in a perilous time, and we know that there are a lot of things to happen over the next 6, 9, 12 months. And we know that it's going to take quite a bit of sacrifice, but we ask you, Father, for protection. We ask you for wisdom. We ask you for courage and strength, and to give us the tools, all the tools that we need in order to overcome these evil, demonic people. Well, I'm grateful again for just all that you've done in my life. And I'm grateful for the things you've done in other people's lives. And I ask you, Father, to bring people to a place of not hope, but of commitment. And that, one way or another, it'll always work out, and that you'll see us through to whatever pathway we need to be on. I say these things, Father, humbly in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. We end each show with a prayer. Color revolution, but Jesus, keep her head on straight. I agree. Please do. Sweatshirt. It's 115 here. Where are you at? It's cold. It's hot here too. I'm just inside, and I like to keep the temperature like 70, 69. Okay, I'm lying. 69. All right. Have a great evening. And I'll see you on Monday. Have a great weekend. Just have an amazing weekend, right? And tell someone that you love them. Start there. I love you. Take care.
Rise up, untamed, in the heart of the fire where the wild ones roam. Joe Oltmann's calling, bringing truth back home. From conservative daily to this untamed fire, we shatter the silence, lifting spirits higher. No chains can hold us, no lies can prevail. Authentic and fearless on this rugged trail. Patriots gather under stars and stripes. Untamed nation, igniting the night. Untamed nation, let the truth roll out in this land of the free. Standing proud from sea to shining sea, we won't back down. Catch the fire, wear the crown. Untamed nation, it's our battle song, motivating hearts where the brave belong. Yeah, untamed and wild, forever strong. Play it again all night long. Time to heal. Joe's voice leads the untamed crew. Truth matters through and through. Untamed nation, let the truth roll out in this land of the free. Standing proud from sea to shining sea, we won't back down. Catch the fire, wear the crown. Untamed nation, it's our battle song, motivating hearts where the brave belong. Yeah, untamed and wild, forever